Want me to sing first? No, just kidding. Let's stay here. After winning the mega fight of my boxing career against Floyd Mayweather, I decided to settle down and take a rest from the grueling punishment of the sport of boxing with my 50 million purse won the fight. Then the thought of getting my own house crossed my mind, so I went to my office located in Shangri-La, and I ruffled through groups of business card labeled real estate brokers. Scanning through them, the most familiar name of all the names flashed to my eyes. Michelle Cooper Mendoza. Upon seeing her name, I flashed back to the times when she would always yap about the cute boys, who would text her, or who would call her, maybe. So I quickly grabbed my phone and gave her a call. The conversation was more grueling than that of any of my boxing bouts. We carried on our usual yapping and forgot the real reason why I called her. But eventually, that reason came back to my mind. That means I still wasn't so battered and old as to get Alzheimer's. So I decided to meet her in her house, which is still in Mandawi village, called Cooper Homes. When I arrived at her door, there she was preparing coffee for me and another anonymous person who was still about to come. Then I heard a knock at the door. When I turned around and looked at the open door, there I saw the intelligent, now less mysterious, Miss Alyeska Cuevas. Then she tutored baby Ellie, which was Michelle's daughter. So it took some time for tutoring until we both sat down and engaged in conversations. So our lively conversations were suddenly interrupted when we heard baby Ellie's cry of anguish. She had slipped and hit her leg on a very sharp rock and was bleeding profusely. Michelle almost fainted at the sight of her daughter bleeding and at the sight of the blood itself. But she was able to gather enough strength and courage to help her own daughter. We quickly rushed to Changwa Hospital's emergency room. While the nurses were cleaning and bandaging baby Ellie's wound, the chief surgeon in charge of the ER finally walked into the room. My jaw dropped. My jaw dropped. It was Dr. Jake Patilsela. My mood elated as I gave Jake the cool bro hug and had small talks and jokes and all the silly things we did when we were younger. We were still talking, having fun, when we forgot about the patient who was nervous about the case. But baby Ella gave another scream of anguish. That scream was enough to wake up from the thinking. That scream was enough to wake us up from talking. So we went back to the baby. After checking the wound on baby Ellie, they proceeded to the operating room. I couldn't stand to watch the procedure, so I took a walk around Changwa Hospital until I reached the oncology room. Still terrified at the sight of the whole place, I got rattled and started to retrace my steps as quickly as I could back to the operating room. Making my way through the hallway, I collided head-on with one of the doctors of the oncology division. Seeing how stunning the doctor was, I helped her up and apologized for the collision. When I saw the name on her name tag, it said, "Go." So I stopped. I stopped and gazed into those round glasses of Dr. Clarice Go. We were ecstatic to see each other. We chatted, giggled, and remembered those days when she would always tell me that Changwa was her dream place. And I would say that Changwa was my nightmare. And those times I would ask her if she was emotionally stable to be an oncologist. Then my phone rang. It was Mish calling me back to the recovery room. Together with Dr. Go, we dashed to the recovery room where baby Ellie, Alyeska, Mish, and Dr. Jake waited. Shortly after, we decided to have dinner in Cybergate. We all just walked from the hospital to the eatery. They just love walking. Why ride a taxi from Toronto to Cybergate? When I crossed the road, a car suddenly hit me and I fell on my back. The driver confronted me disrespectfully for leaving a big dent on his brand new Cadillac. Feeling insulted, I retaliated with words of my own. The argument started to get physical, but Dr. Jake resolved the verbal fight with his pakul instincts to try to teach the driver how to zagi. Meanwhile, I called the office and asked for the best lawyer to sue this man for reckless driving and verbal assault. They recommended Attorney Charles Samuel Asiste. Then the court hearing was quickly scheduled the next day. When I sat in the court hearing, my lawyer was late, as usual. But nonetheless, he arrived well prepared. As soon as the hearing started, in just a blink of an eye, we have already won the case. Time flew by so fast. So I bid the others goodbye so that they can go back to their works. I thank my attorney, Mr. Assistant, for that lightning fast court trial. They indeed gave me the best lawyer in the business. I gathered my senses and I decided to take a break from all the stress. I went to Ayala Mall and noticed something. The mall became bigger. Nostalgia kicked in, so I moved up the cinema floor and noticed that there were now 10 more cinemas. I asked a worker in the new Ayala what happened. He told me that the mall had a new owner. I asked who, so he pointed to a picture behind me. Shocked as I was, it was a picture of my good friend, Engineer Prince Chow Lu, who still wore simple clothes. So, Prince suddenly came up behind me, gave me a hug, which hurts all the time. So we sat together and he treated me to a restaurant nearby. Somewhere in between my conveying, I noticed my tooth crack. Squirming in pain, he tried to help me, but it just made things worse. I asked him to give me the name of the best dentist in town. He told me to go to Century Plaza, and there I will find the best dentist in town. Desperately wanting my tooth to be fixed, I rode the oh-so-familiar taxi of Cebu to the dentist's office with a signboard labeled, Dentistry Dental Clinic. When I entered, I saw the lovely Dr. Katrina Peters. Her gentleness with her hands was amazing. When her job with my teeth was finished, we chatted for a little while, and I asked her if she wanted to meet up with the others sometime. Like always, she happily replied yes. I told her that I just met with about half of the whole class, such that plans of a reunion started. It was all hopeless, and I finally planned to sleep in my car. But then I saw a bright light come up from behind of my car. It stopped. Then a girl suddenly appeared out of the bright light. My sadness turned to gladness when I saw that pretty face of Christine Jane Pacubas again. Helpful that she is, she brought me to her house where I could crash for a few nights until my car would run again. When I saw her massive house, half of that massiveness was her autistic care facility. She showed me around the facility and the number of autistic patients she handled every day. Seeing what good she has done to help those autistic kids, I have seen a grown young lady with a heart as big as the sun. When my car was fixed, I was ready to go home. But before I did, I asked her too if she wanted to meet up with the others someday. She ecstatically said yes with her bright smile. So I was once again on my way home until I noticed an advertisement of a vintage jazz concert which will be shown in the waterfront ballroom. Something about the ad caught my eye, so I quickly went up to the nearest ticket outlet and bought tickets for everyone whom I want to watch with. I invited all my seniors batch with all the teachers who shaped up my high school life to watch the concert with me. When we all arrived at the concert, there I saw the never-aging Cheer Kiara, along with the ever-jolly Cheer Anna and Cheering On. Then I saw the forever young couples who guided me through high school, the ever-caring teacher Ophelia, and the ever-masculine Pastor Nene. Then came the always smiling teacher Maloy, coming at me with her deadly tickling fingers. Then I saw teacher Flor, who always dresses the part and has math in in her all the time. And teacher Chichi with a dancing look on her face. Then last but not the least, teacher Evelyn with her ever Tagalog speaking tongue. Then when everybody was all seated, the lights dimmed and the spotlight focused on the stage. The curtain slowly revealed the scenery. Screams from our area were heard all over the ballroom. After the announcer said, "Presenting the lovely Marjorie Briones." We all went nuts. Her voice was always enchanting and soul-touching, just like Ella Fitzgerald's voice. After the concert, we all got together and had our special dinner in our favorito, Lancian.